Last week, we got news that a live-action Teen Titans movie was officially in development for the DCU with the same writer from Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, so this is happening. And obviously, like many people, I am insanely excited for this. I love the Teen Titans. I grew up with these characters in the various cartoons. Then we got the live-action Titan series on Max, and well, we saw how that went, so I want a good version of the Teen Titans in live action. Hopefully, James Gunn can finally give that to us. He's always good with comics accuracy, so I fully have faith in him. So this is something I'm really incredibly excited for. And one of the biggest questions with this movie has been, okay, who's going to be on the team? Really, that's the big question, is what type of roster are we looking at here? And we may now possibly know who's going to be on this team, and along with some other plot details and when they're going to start filming, because we have a new article from Production Weekly, which is usually, they're very accurate when it comes to casting, shooting locations, dates, and stuff like that. But they do kind of get their film descriptions from online. So when they put this out there, I don't know how accurate it is. I think the shoot date is fairly accurate because they put that out there, but the description, we'll see on that. But it is being said here that, okay, so production is set to begin in late 2025. Which is surprising because this movie was just announced, and it's kind of crazy when you have all these other movies and projects that were announced back in January of 2023, like Swamp Thing and The Authority and Batman the Brave and the Bold, that we have no idea when those movies are going to start shooting. But Teen Titans, all of a sudden, this is getting a prime slot here, which I think is really quite interesting, and again, just completely unexpected, especially in comparison to Brave and the Bold, which we'll talk about later on in the video, especially with how that movie can directly impact this film. But yeah, that's interesting for sure. But then it gets more interesting here when the article goes on to list a supposed description for this film. So it says right here, the Teen Titans are further apart than ever, until Damian Wayne recruits Starfire, Raven, Beast Boy, and the new Kid Flash to join him in a fight against his own grandfather, Ra's al Ghul. Whoa, okay, that's a lot. So let's break this down step by step here. So, Damian Wayne, this is one that I'm mixed on feeling about because it's one of the ones that makes the most sense, because obviously Damian Wayne is going to be introduced in Batman the Brave and the Bold. He's going to be introduced as the new Robin of the DCU, so it makes sense that he would be a part of this team. Now, the reason I'm mixed on it is just because personally, I don't love the character of Damian Wayne. I think he's always been a brat and really super annoying. But hopefully the DCU can change my mind on that. Like I said, it makes sense that he would be a part of this team. And it is very similar to, I've mentioned in my previous Teen Titans videos about how I love the DC animated movie universe Teen Titans movies, Justice League versus Teen Titans, and Teen Titans The Judas Contract. And Damian Wayne is a big part of that team on there. So I could see them taking direct inspiration from those films, which is something that I want, especially that first one, Justice League versus Teen Titans. But one of the things that's kind of disappointing here is that there's no Dick Grayson, which is one of the ones that you thought would be kind of had to be here. Like, oh, that's one of the obvious picks. But, like, I mean, you can have both Dick Grayson as Nightwing and Damian as Robin on the team. But according to this plot synopsis, there is no Dick. But again, we'll talk about that more in a bit. Starfire, I'm really excited for. Starfire is a character that I think you need to have on this team. So I love that she's going to be here. I think that's fantastic. Hopefully, I think Anna Diop did a great job as Starfire on Titans, but I would love to see a more comics accurate take on her character in this film. Beast Boy, my favorite Teen Titan. I'm so excited for this. Yes, he needs to be on this team. And please, turn into some other animals, because he like never did that on Titans. That was one of the biggest disappointments of that show. But I love Beast Boy, so I love that he's going to be a part of this team. And rounding out kind of the classic members here, we have Raven. Now Raven, again, another one that it feels like, yeah, she kind of has to be on this team. And I'm glad that she will be. So I'm really excited about that. But then the final member that's listed here is Kid Flash, specifically the new Kid Flash, who joins the team here. So the new Kid Flash, I'll get into it in a second, what comic this is specifically based off of. But the Kid Flash from that comic is Wally West, specifically the African-American version of Wally West, who's the nephew of Barry Allen. Now, I think having Kid Flash on this team is a great idea. Definitely not one of the characters I would have chosen personally to have in this first movie, but I love Kid Flash, so I think it is a cool, interesting idea to have this character on screen here. Definitely a great way because, I mean, Kid Flash, Wally West was in the Flash TV show on the CW, and that was a really poorly done version of the character, so I'm excited to see, hopefully, a well-done version of Wally West Kid Flash. But at the same time, this does, I know, disappoint a lot of people who were hoping that in the DCU, Wally West would be the main Flash. Take a break from Barry Allen, and Wally West could be the main Flash of the DCU. Which I definitely wouldn't have been opposed to, because Wally West is the original Flash in the comics. In Justice League Unlimited, classic animated series from the 90s or early 2000s, Wally West was the Flash on the Justice League in that series. So I definitely wouldn't have minded that, but looks like they're going to go with the more popular route of Wally West as Kid Flash and Barry Allen will be the Flash. I mean, we have no idea when Barry Allen the Flash will be involved in the DCU, but it definitely will not be anytime soon. Yeah, give people a chance to forget about Ezra Miller, as hard as that may be. Now, the last part here is all these heroes team up together to join Damian in this fight against his own grandfather, Ra's al Ghul, which is, from what's mentioned here, the biggest thing that I'm kind of disappointed about if this ends up being true. Because I don't want Ra's al Ghul in a Teen Titans movie. I mean, I get it, like, especially if Damian is going to be kind of the lead here, it makes sense that you would want to have a personal villain to him. But it's just, Ra's al Ghul is a Batman villain. I would prefer they use the time for a Teen Titans movie to have them fight a Teen Titans villain, like Trigon or Slade or the Fearsome Five, I think is what they're called. Mad Mod, Mother May I. Like, there's some great Teen Titans villains out there. Killer Moth, even. So to do Ra's al Ghul is just especially because this whole time I've kind of assumed that Ra's al Ghul would be the main villain of Batman the Brave and the Bold. I mean, Ra's al Ghul, great character. Personally, I've never been a huge fan of him, but it is cool that we're going to be getting him in the DCU. But I've been assuming that he was going to be the main villain of Brave and the Bold, because that movie is all about introducing Damian to Bruce's life, and obviously Ra's al Ghul is a big part of that storyline because his mother, Damian's mother, is Ra's al Ghul's daughter. So I kind of just assumed that Ra's would be involved in that story, and maybe he will be. But then if that's the case, I really don't want to see Ra's be, I mean, I do think that would be a good thing to not just be like the MCU and not just kill off villains after one movie. Like, reuse villains for sure. I think that's a great idea that they should definitely do, but not back to back like that. And then the other thing that I wanted to talk about when it comes to Brave and the Bold is if Teen Titans is going to start shooting late 2025, which I do think is good from a perspective of, like, teen actors, get them while they're young and, like, actually teenagers. That's one of the things the MCU is running into a problem with their Young Avengers, is, like, they're taking all this time to set it up, and, like, these Young Avengers are going to be adult Avengers by the time you do the movie. But anyway, with Brave and the Bold, like I said at the beginning of the video, we've heard no real updates on when this is going to start shooting, if they even have a completed script yet. Andy Muschietti is supposedly still directing the movie, but there's been on again, off again rumors that he's dropped out. So I don't know what the status is on that, but there's been no concrete updates on this film. And this is one of the first ones that was announced. So you would think that this would be one of the first films of the DCU, but I mean, then would this shoot right before Teen Titans, or would it shoot after? And we also know that the Batman Part 2 is going to start shooting early next year. So this just is kind of all over the place, to say the least. It just makes more sense that this movie would come out first, introduce Damian, get that whole storyline out of the way, and then it spins off into Teen Titans. That's what I think would make the most sense. But are they going to be able to get things together to start shooting this movie early 2025, or even early to mid 2025 before they can do Teen Titans? I don't know. That just seems a bit unrealistic to me, but that could just be because we haven't heard any updates. Maybe there's been updates going on with this film. We just haven't heard about them publicly. So we'll say that. But the thing about this plot synopsis here, the Teen Titans are further apart than ever before until Damian Wayne recruits Starfire, Raven, Beast Boy, and the new Kid Flash to join him in a fight against his own grandfather, Ra's al Ghul. That description right there is taken directly from Teen Titans Volume 1, Damian Knows Best, which was written by Benjamin Piercy, with art by Cope Vam, Diogenes Neves, and John Boy Mayers, and a cover by John Boy Mayers. The comic was released in 5 parts from December 2016 through April 2017 as a part of the DC Rebirth event, and makes up Teen Titans Volume 6, which ran until January 2021. And so this is a more recent comic, and I mean, James Gunn is no stranger to appreciating more recent DC comic storylines. I mean, you literally look at what they're doing with Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. I think that's fantastic. But I just think that because of this, that makes me think that this plot synopsis is not specific to this movie. Because like I said, Production Weekly is super accurate when it comes to casting and, production dates and shooting times and all that stuff. But as for their plot synopsis and plot details, they are most of the time synopsis taken off the internet. So I wouldn't at all be surprised if they just took this from the comic book and just put that there kind of as a placeholder until we get a more actual concrete set of details on this film. So that does kind of lead me to believe that this is not the real true description of this movie, and that this may not be the official roster. Ra's al Ghul may not be the villain of this movie. None of this will pertain to this film. That's kind of what I'm thinking here now, which I would be happy with, because again, this is a movie I'm really looking forward to, and I don't want them to mess it up. I don't want to waste this opportunity and do something with Ra's al Ghul and all this other stuff. It just doesn't make sense to me. Especially, this is not what I think we'll be getting from Teen Titans in the DCU. I mean, like I said, the biggest thing we've been talking about is what's the roster going to look like. And there's so many rosters and team iterations throughout the comics. There's so many different versions that you could have on display here. And, I mean, I like the lineup here for the most part. Just, I think it's missing a few key players. Like I mentioned previously, Dick Grayson needs to be a part of this team. Most likely as Nightwing, just considering the timeline of the DCU. We need a Dick Grayson Nightwing up in here. And the only other one that I think is required is Blue Beetle, just because it's been confirmed Shola Merdueña is going to continue as Jaime Reyes, the Blue Beetle of the DCU. Probably won't get a sequel to his movie just because of the poor box office. But he is going to continue as that character, and I don't see where else he would continue other than maybe the Booster Gold series, but I feel like this is the best place for him to go, and Blue Beetle just fits with the Teen Titans, I think. and obviously he's not mentioned here at all, so that's another thing that makes me think that this is not accurate. But that is one of the things that makes me think the 2025 shoot date is more accurate, because Xolo Maridueña, his character in that movie already graduated college, so he's already basically an adult. And that, like I said before, that's something you kind of have to do with this movie, is you want to get shooting this as soon as possible so that your young actors are actually young. And so far, the only one that we actually have officially cast is Xolo Maridueña, but still, he's aging, so you gotta really jump on this before he gets too old. But something with the Teen Titans is that there's always been kind of adult members and teenage members as well. That was something I really like seeing on display in those animated Teen Titans movies, like Justice League versus Teen Titans, is you had adult characters on the team like Dick Grayson, Nightwing, and Starfire, and here we could have Blue Beetle as well. And then you have your teenage characters like Damian, Beast Boy, Raven. So I think that would be nice to balance things out here. So yeah, like I said, I mean, if this is true, this is what we could be looking at for our roster, for our team of the Teen Titans in the DCU, which, if this is the case, if this is the roster, I wouldn't be super upset about it. I actually like this team lineup. Again, I just feel like it needs a little bit more. It needs a Dick Grayson. It needs a Blue Beetle. And yeah, I love Kid Flash being an addition to the team. I think that's great. But I just don't know how accurate this is. So I'm going to say we'll debunk this report. I do think the shooting late 2025 is going to be a thing. That makes a lot of sense to me. So we'll see on that. But for now, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think about these details revealed by Production Weekly? What do you think about the fact they're going to start shooting in late 2025? And what do you think about the supposed plot synopsis? Do you think it's accurate, or do you think they just took it from that comic and it's going to have nothing to do with this film? And if that's the case, who do you want to see in this film? Who do you want to see on this team? And what sort of villains do you want to see the Teen Titans face off against in this DCU Teen Titans movie? So thanks so much for watching. Please drop a like if you enjoyed this video and hit the subscribe button so I can keep you up to date on everything that goes on in the DC life.